Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Greater Culture Chat. Chelsea, Brad, hanging out here on the microphone today. And a pretty cool episode for today because we recently celebrated our 1 year anniversary, which is crazy that a year ago we were basically in the same exact spot, put out our first episode of what Greater Culture is and what we were hoping to achieve. And now, 1 full year later, we're back on the mic, still here, still excited about what's to come. We thought it'd be cool to do an episode where we chat a little bit about what we learned, what we've come to find out, and just some of the things that stood out to us over the last year. So with that being said, it's gonna be very conversational. Chelsea is working through a, what would you call it? Throat
I'm gonna call it laryngitis.
laryngitis. Yeah,
Yeah, just because that sounds nice, like it's like an actual name.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically my voice has been stolen from me. I'll blame Disney World for it.
Yeah.
That's definitely where I got it.
Yeah. The high of Disney and then now the low crash of like, okay, the
Yeah.
body's recovering from that.
Yeah.
But it's actually, we were talking about it, one of our most listened to episodes of any episode of our podcast or whatnot was when we did this episode a year ago, which is crazy to think how far we've come. So what were some of the initial thoughts you had? Because we recently celebrated the 1 year by getting everybody together. We had a nice, I guess you could call it a party, celebrating, giving out some awards and just hanging out and chilling. And looking at how things have gone over the last year, anything stand out to you or kind of the initial thoughts?
It went by much faster than I thought it would. It really moved.
It did.
It's so funny to be back here. It's like a whole year has passed, and like Instagram, showing you like your history and stuff. It's like each day the gym changes in the background because we were adding so much to it. Like the mats grow, or the rig shows up, the storage shows up, and it's like funny to see all that and to see this like finished product now. It went so quickly, and like just our members are just so consistent.
Yeah.
There were never like any moments where it was like, oh, no one showed up or this or that. Like it's just been going. And to do that in a garage is crazy. And then at the party looking out at everybody and like, yeah, we've known a few of them for a long time, but a lot of new faces, just new people we've met, and it's just been really cool. Yeah,
it was cool because we had a slideshow of just like hundreds of photos and videos that we've collected over the last year, and seeing what some of the first photos and videos were in the space. We're like, oh, it doesn't look remotely like that anymore. And the product we have now feels very much like a gym, and we're able to fill the space up. And it's actually been really cool talking to people about it, because I think there's this surprise of like, wait, you can actually like have a gym and run it out of your garage? Like, yeah. And they'll be like, how many people can you fit? And I was like, well, I mean, most classes.
What's the weather outside?
Yeah, most classes are probably a little bit more tame, but yeah, we've got space to move outside. But then, some of the events that come to mind of like Murph, we had like 20, 30 people here doing Murph at one time, or Saturday workouts where we've got more than 10 folks here rocking and rolling. So it's amazing how the community's grown, the gym has grown with it, the brand, it feels like, has continued to grow. But, kind of at the heart of it all was just, members who just want to work out and get a little bit fitter. And it's been really fun to see the faces who've decided to come over here and work out and be part of the community, and what that's looked like over the year. And I think the party last Friday definitely like brought all that together. You're like, whoa, like this is crazy that this all happened within 1 year, and the amount of people who came and then stuck around. I mean, it's just really cool to see that buy-in and see the growth and what has all transpired over the last year.
Yeah, it's cool because like, when I first started coaching CrossFit 10 years ago, it was very much a tight-knit community of like, we all share equipment. We all work out in the same space. We're throwing sweat on each other, blah, blah, blah. And then COVID happened, and everyone went into these stations. Everyone had their own equipment, their own stuff, and it became very much like you're on an island a little bit. Like you're all still working out together, but you're not together.
Yeah.
But then being here, it's fun to see everyone get back into that. We are a group working out as a group. Like we're sharing equipment. We're, hey, how, are you resting? Let me get in on this. Or like we're using the same rowers and stuff. And I really like it. And I think you get more out of the class that way. Like our members are like, there's much more high-fiving going on after class and things like that. And that might just be, you know, moving away from COVID, everyone's coming back together. But like, it's really cool to see that again. I love that part of it. Just like suffering together and then being done together and you know, relishing in that.
Yeah. And it's interesting how we've been thoughtful. You know, we get our programming from an outside source, but we have to tweak it and adjust it for the equipment we have and the space we have and what we can do. But the way to see everybody just absolutely embrace it of like, oh yeah, share this, share that, rotate in. And, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's getting a great workout and getting a little bit fitter, but it does allow you to have those conversations like, hey, we're sharing a squat rack today so we can talk in between sets, or hey, we're sharing equipment and we're rotating through it in such a way that like we're figuring out what you're doing today, what I'm doing today, and we're pushing each other. And so I think that has certainly helped as well of like, you know, when you only have 450 square feet, you figure out how to be thoughtful and floor layouts, and we kind of got our routine, our rhythm. But at the end of the day, if you get a class of 7 or 8 people showing up, it's like, hey, we've got to figure this thing out. And the other thing that made me think of that was how I'd say resilient the members are, because I think as coaches, you're always really worried about like, how are they feeling? What are they thinking when it gets really hot out, when it gets really cold out? So we have you know, there's no heat or AC to the garage, and we've been getting fans or heating systems or things like that. And you're always just like, oh, like I feel bad for them. But that never once were they like, oh, this is too hot, too cold. I'm not coming because of this. Like they show up when it's 30 degrees outside. They show up when it's 100 degrees outside. And I think that also kind of speaks, like you said, like the spirit of CrossFit of like, we're just going to get the work done and we'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah. It's been really fun to coach that again. It's been good.
As coaches, it's kind of funny because we're the ones who have to either really bundle up or figure out a way to try and stay cool, because as soon as they get warmed up, like they're fine. But but then we're sitting over here like, where's the heater? I need to stay in front of it, which are probably some of those memories too that will stand out of, you know, when the weather's bad and it's like, well, no running today, or we're staying inside, and now we've got not as much real estate to work with, and figuring it out. That's always, I think, really fun as a coach. What have been some of the highs for you? Because it's hard to pinpoint some of them over the last year, and there's kind of like the natural ones I think about with like the Open or Murph or other special events. You know, we ran an online virtual competition this year. So there's a lot of those highs that are like the big ones, but then there's also those like little subtle ones. Are there ones that stand out to you that resonate?
Well, like personally, it's just been nice to get back into like the coaching, like the tact of the coaching, you know, working out the space, working out little issues that people might have. We have a few first-time CrossFitters that are feeling those aches and pains, and being able to talk to them about how to get over that and move past that, and just having a really receptive group and just being able to coach and like put in information, and they're very receptive to that. And that's been a lot of fun for me on a personal side. It keeps me moving. Right. It's not just plugging something in. It's actually working at it. So that's been really cool. And I think for the group, just seeing, you know, it's like watching your kids, you know, like seeing them become friends. And like hanging out outside of CrossFit or something like that. It's been really cool to see that and see them gain confidence in the space. That's always a big high for the year, is seeing people get more confident in what they're doing, even if the weight's not going up or something like that, but they're showing up every day. And they're getting more confident in that. And I really like that a lot. What about you?
I would say for me, I think about this idea that like it always comes back to the members. Like that's why we exist. That's why we do this, is like to try and do it for them. And so like the little things we've done of having boards that they can sign when they hit certain attendance marks, you know, and how everybody gets excited for each other for that. Like, hey, you get to sign because it's your 50th class, or this is your 100th class. And people get really fired up about that and like celebrate each other, and you take photos, and they, you know, they have a lot of fun with it. And so seeing that, like of the attendance and how they've stayed consistent, and then also just seeing people hit things in the gym that they didn't know they could hit or is new for them. Because like you said, we have a lot of new folks. So it's like every day is like a new PR or lifting a new weight for them. And it's so fun to see that journey. Because then we also have experienced CrossFitters who've been doing this for 7, 8, 9 years. and still finding ways to like get them fired up is also cool, because like when you've been doing this for a long time, you kind of get worn down of like, man, I just don't know that there's PRs are coming anymore. You know, maybe I'm getting older, my body feels like it's a little bit more fatigued or sore. And so like finding ways to bridge the gap with new people in the middle, veterans, and just see everybody get really excited about things again, I think has really been fun. And so for me, those are some of the highs of like seeing how the athletes interact with each other, celebrate their own wins, celebrate other people's wins. And then, you know, we kind of try and drip kind of our philosophy in there of like the goal is just to move, the goal is to, you know, be really healthy for life outside of the gym, and kind of see people start to embrace that as well. I think has been really cool, at least from my perspective.
I agree.
So we know there's a lot of highs with CrossFitters and those big events. That's really cool, and everybody comes together and we celebrate. And then there's the moments you get the PRs. There's probably also some lows in there. We'd be lying if we said, as you know, folks running a gym, that there weren't some tough times. Anything come to mind for you that was like, oh, these are the lows, or these are like the tough moments?
As someone who's coached CrossFit for a long time, I had moved away from the early morning classes, and I was enjoying that. And now I'm an early morning coach again, and that is tough. But the good news is, you know, I'm going to bed early, so I do like that part of it. But I would say the early mornings do seem to be earlier, even though they're technically later. But they're tough sometimes. I think that would be a little bit of a low. But the group that comes in is pretty good, so it's not too terrible once we get moving. It's just the whole getting out of the house thing that's tough. It's
funny because mine's kind of goes along with that too, of just worrying about weather and the temperature and how all of that is received by the athletes. Because all of a sudden you wake up and it's like 28 degrees outside and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be rough, or it's super hot today, or it's raining out, or something like that. And all that stuff always makes me get a little worried of like, oh, what's their experience going to be like? Are they still going to have a good workout? And then it's like, you get there, and once you get into it, you realize it's not that big of a deal. Even if we make it a big deal in our head. Or same thing with equipment. You're like, oh no, like we've got 8 people in class, like all of our racks are taken, or people are gonna have to wait for a pull-up bar, you know, and then you realize like it's not that big of a deal, and people will get through it. So I think for me, it's almost that personal pressure of like wanting things to be just right, and like the perfect layout and the perfect weather and the perfect workout. You realize like that's not what CrossFit is, and you kind of have to get over that yourself. So for me, those are, I think, some of the lows of like as a coach, just like over worrying about all this stuff going on around the workout,
not actually the workout.
Because then like once you get into it, like as a coach, I don't know about you, but like it certainly made me better of adapting workouts based on time, space, people in front of you. You know, we've always adjusted and scaled workouts for people's ability levels, but it's just like that added layer where you're like, okay, we only have 5 pieces of equipment. We've got a lot of people here. We only have, you know, 4 or 5 pull-up stations. What do we do? So it's been actually fun from that perspective, like getting better as a coach of adapting things. I don't know if you've seen that too.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. It's like a little bit of like a strategic game. Like, how do I win this game? How do I make it work the best way? And then when it does, you kind of wish another coach was there to see it, because you're like, look what I just did. This is really cool, right? Because the athletes are just doing the workout, but you're like, look at how I perfectly set up this room, you know? Like,
and then when all of a sudden you've got 4 people in here with like a barbell and something else, you're like, we did it. We figured it out. And like people are staying in their little station. And it's good. It certainly made you realize how little you need to get a good workout in. And still feel like you're doing CrossFit.
Like it's funny that it's kind of nice because people are like, oh, I only need like this square of rubber. And I got all the space in the world. And it's like, yes, you do. Good job.
The other thing that I was thinking about that came to mind thinking about the last year and like some of the highs, one was like, I think it's really cool to see a brand that you create start to grow. And like just seeing like how things came about with the logo and the reason behind it. And we talked about that in last time and some of the values we have. And over the year to see like apparel and hats and stickers and all these other things that like start to have your logo or brand on it, all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, like we did that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see a vision come to life.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they were talking about how a lot of the things we make now are on the internet. Like you don't really see it, or even a workout. Like it's cool that you coached it, but then it's gone. But like making clothes and actually putting that together ourselves and seeing it out in the world, it's like, oh, I did that. Like I made that. It's a permanent thing that I can look at.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad that you're on board, because like I'm not aesthetically inclined at all. So whenever it's like an apparel thing, I'm like, what do we even do for like colors, shirts, etc.? And we've had multiple drops throughout the year, and it's been super fun to see people get really excited about like buying gear and then wearing their gear, and then others are like, oh, how can I get that? When can I get that? And so I think that's been really fun to see like how that's kind of grown over the last year. And it's funny because I know you've got the vision for how we want to bring apparel to market and things like that. And we've kept things, you know, more, I don't know what you'd say, not conservative, but simple. Just like want our logo out there, people to understand that. But there's also like the excitement for what we can do with it too, which I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, once we get more established, like putting out some good stuff.
Yeah.
I would say stay tuned for the summer drops. I think it's going to get a little creative, a little bit more outside of the regular logo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really cool to think creatively on that end, and kind of like for this drop, we did a lot different. We went with some deeper colors, and but still staying on theme is pretty cool. Like our ink colors and things like that. It's been.
And it's also been fun too, because it feels like as we've grown over last year, we figured things out, but also, you know, you trying new things out. So even like with our social media, you know, we've tried a variety of things, but it's all kind of still centered around like how do we try and share our vision, our message, like what we're all about. Have you thought about that like over last year of just like kind of putting our message out and our spin on things? Because you know, there's a lot of folks out there in the fitness space and a lot of gyms, and specifically CrossFit gyms in the area, and you kind of thinking like, how do we differentiate ourselves or whatnot? And it's kind of been fun to see how I think that's evolved over the year.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Do you have
I think the best method for that kind of stuff, and we've talked about this in the past, is just to like stay in your lane and do your thing to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's what we're doing. We've set these parameters and things that we wanted to follow, and we don't really compare ourselves to other people or try to copy what people are doing. Like, yeah, if someone has a great idea, you would follow that for sure. But it's just been, this is what we do. And we put out that message. And I think that's been really successful. And I think that's what people have noticed is like, this is us. We're not like trying to do something else. We're not trying to be this or that. Like, this is who we are. We're in this garage. This is the message we put out. And I think the social media has done a really good job of showing that. And I think it's very authentic and people relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, what we both try and put out is like just being ourselves, so that no one feels like they've been sold a lemon or a lie or something like that. Like, this is who we are. And our social media, you can look at that and you come into the gym and you're going to get the same thing. Like, it's the exact same.
That's what some of the feedback, compliments, if you will, we've gotten that has been really helpful and meaningful, is when folks are like, yeah, like I can show up, just be myself, and what you see is what you get. It's not like, yeah, we're pulling a fast one on people, but it's like, yeah, exactly what I see from what folks are experiencing with the culture and the community. Like, that is what it is when you get there, and it's not fake or anything like that, which I've come to appreciate, because I think there's always that concern of like, okay, you have this idea of what you think and want things to be like, but you never know until you actually get people in the door. Because, you know, some of the stuff that I appreciate seeing or reading is like, your brand is whatever people say about you. And you can control that to an extent, but at the end of the day, it's like, what does everyone else think about us? And it's been really meaningful to hear the members sort of confirm that, of like, hey, what you guys are trying to put out is what we feel like it is. And from the way we communicate with folks, the way we celebrate our members, the way we come in here and get a good workout in, the clothes we make, it's funny how it all is kind of wrapped up together. And it's really fun. And we've had so many great conversations with so many other folks that, you know, we try and put those out to educate, or we try and connect with other gyms. And I think that's another piece for me that's been really cool, see the support from other gyms. You know, when
Yeah.
they hear you're starting a garage affiliate, the amount of affiliates that I actually have come to find out started out of their garage is actually really surprising to me.
That's
So I
funny.
think you see these gyms and you're just like, yeah, like they just found a commercial spot and started and they were good to go. And a number of them are like, no, actually, I started out of my garage and had a small group and then we moved and this and that. And you're like, oh, it's like, it's more common than you think it would be. But there's also that then connection of like, yeah, we want to support you. We'll sign up for your competitions. You support us. And I think that's also been really fun to feel like it's a collaborative environment here and outside of the Raleigh area of like gyms supporting each other, which I think is really, really cool too. It's like we're all in this together.
Yeah, you take the zero-sum narrative out of it. Like there is enough for everybody here.
Yeah.
We can be supportive. We don't have to be so like, no, these are my people. Stay away type thing.
Yeah. I think this past year has just been really fun to see how all of these things have grown. The brand, the way we communicate with folks, the way we bring classes to the masses. And I think both of us are excited that like, okay, prove the concept can work. And it's, you know, the brand can work. So now you're starting to look ahead and think about what's to come. So what are some of the things that you're excited about as you look forward to 2024? Because when we sat here a year ago and started thinking about what could be, you know, I don't know that we expected this is what it would be, but I think we're both pretty excited and happy about where it is. And I know we both have a lot of desire for growth and like, where do we go next? So what comes to mind for you?
I think, a big thing is just filling out our classes more, getting more members in the door and being able to, you know, spread it to more people. That's a big thing I'm looking forward to being able to do and having the resources to do that. And just making sure that like when we're putting our message out there, that those people can also send that message out. Like, you know, you see, we live in kind of a bubble as CrossFitters because we only hang out with CrossFitters. And then, you know, we are health-minded, wellness-minded, fitness-minded. We might make some poor choices, eat a few Oreos now and then or things like that, have a fun night at the holiday party. But in general, we're very like wellness focused. And I want that to continue to spread in our community. You know, it's just because you know, the kids are at school, you meet other people and they ask you questions and you're like, oh, like, we need to spread this message more. And I'd love to be able to get it out there further because it's just simple things that really can help a lot of people. Just move a little bit more, you know, just, you know, and drink some more water, you know, and I'd love to be able to make that more common knowledge in our area. So just if that's, you know, getting more members or getting more followers on social media, things like that. I'm excited about doing that. You know, like you said, we've proven this concept here with our little group and I want to expand it more.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what comes to mind for me as well, is I know there's reservations or thoughts that people have about working out in a garage compared to a commercial space. And I think we embrace that. And, you know, we're like, hey, it's not that different, but we also understand in some ways it is, you know, different of where you're going and all this and that. But so continuing to do what we do and find ways to impact people's lives, if that means more members coming to our classes or being a part of the actual movement piece of the house, that to me is exciting. The other piece that I would love to continue to figure out ways to grow is sort of like the storytelling aspect of like we've had some really big success with Wolf Media and having her come in and try and allow our athletes to tell their stories, because I think that resonates with people so much more than a coach or an owner who's like, well, yeah, you've been in fitness for 7+ years. Like, it's easy for you to say these things. But then all of a sudden you see someone who you're like, oh, that looks like me. And I can relate to that. So the storytelling piece is something that I'm excited to try and figure out how we continue to showcase our members, tell their stories, and allow that to be a message that maybe draws others to the fold. Because I think we saw that even this year with the amount of folks who came because of referrals. Because, hey, I started coming here, I enjoyed it, I reached out to my friend, they started coming here, they enjoy it. That to me is always really cool, as to see the referrals and how that brings people in. So continue to leverage that and start telling our stories of how we can connect with more people. And if that means they come in and they work out with us, great. If it just means they're learning some new strategies, new tips to make their lives healthier, then like that's also a huge win.
Yeah.
You know, I think our big goal is how do we help people and build people to be mentally and physically more capable and confident. And there's a lot of ways that can look.
Yeah.
And I think we're excited to continue the CrossFit piece and then see what are the other ways we can impact people in 2024 and beyond, which, you know, it's crazy to think that it's only a couple weeks away now.
I know. It's ridiculous. I thought the year was going slow and then it sped up really quickly. About September, it always just like, it's like you're falling downhill.
It was funny because I feel like we noticed that with the members too, where you kind of like, okay, we got through the first winter and then we got through the spring and then you're like, oh man, summer's coming. It's going to be really hot.
Yeah.
And we got through Memorial Day and then the summer and then you got to the fall and you're like, this is beautiful weather. But
for like a week.
Yeah. And then you're like, what's coming up next? And, you know, so I think we were always looking ahead and slightly worried about weather or this and that. And then, you know, the questions are always like, well, what's next for Greater Culture? Like what's coming up? Like this and that. And to be transparent, you know, we certainly have been searching for a commercial space and we've found like a lot of other small business owners that it's really tough sledding in the commercial real estate market right now. So there was definitely some highs and lows with that of like, oh, maybe this might work and it didn't, or this might work and it didn't. And so, you know, just kind of staying steadfast through all of that. But yeah, we kept setting these markers and we kept hitting them. And we're like, well, I guess we've been here for 3 months and now 6 months and now 9 months and now 12 months. And so I think still being patient has been the name of the game. But yeah, it's amazing how fast it's gone. And we've been able to weather every, you know, challenge that's really been thrown at us so far.
Yeah. Vacations, sickness, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's been a great year. I haven't ever taken this many vacations.
Which is funny because we have a small team, but I think we've also established, you know, like there's going to be some balance here. We want to make sure they're taking time, we're taking time, we're still providing a great product and value for everybody. But yeah, like I think we were able to cover down and help each other out. And so I think that was also really cool too, to figure out like what you can accomplish with a small staff and 4 classes a day.
It's nice that the members are appreciative of us taking time when we need it for holidays and things like that. And I hope that continues in the new year because I like my holidays. Yeah. But yeah, they've been really good about being like, yeah, I mean, you should have Thanksgiving off. It's like, oh, thanks, appreciate that. Yeah,
especially because we've noticed that too. You know, when you've got a smaller community, you stay really connected to like what they're up to and what they're doing. You know, they go away for a week or they go here and there for vacations and whatnot. So it's cool that like we almost got to work through all of that together. And everybody's like, okay, we can still get fit, even if it means we're not physically in the gym on Thanksgiving or whatever that might be. Like we'll still provide you something if you really want it. And people realize like, yeah, this time away actually made my body feel better. I could come back well rested and I'm ready to go moving forward. So I think that was really cool too. It's just like the support we got from that.
I think it's a really good example, like a real life example of what CrossFit tries to put out there is that this is CrossFit as a lifestyle. Yeah. This is not CrossFit for the games. Yeah. And like even like the old videos that CrossFit would put out of like Annie Sakamoto and like Nicole and they're doing these hard workouts and stuff. And so you were like, I want to do hard workouts. Yeah. But it was like it kind of just idolized the hard workouts and pulled away from the lifestyle of it. And it is fun to watch. I mean, it's cool to see these athletes and the inside stories and things like that. But this is a really good real life example of like what CrossFit looks like in your life, not as like a add on to your life, if that makes sense. Like it's integrated into the fabric, not so much an outside thing that you have to kind of smush in there and find time for.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think everybody's got different goals, different aspirations, and are at different parts within their life and within like their health and fitness journey, and finding that we can match them wherever they're at. Like if they're like, hey, I just want this to be an hour of my day and I don't particularly care how much I lift or how fast I go, but I know this movement is helping me. Yeah. Perfectly fine. Like we'll help support you. And then we've got athletes who want to do local competitions or do different online things. And it's like, we can support that too. So I think that's also what's been really fun is like being able to get to know our athletes, to figure out what they care about, how they want to be coached, what they want to get better at. And then you still can like tailor that to them, even within the bigger class, which I think is also a part of CrossFit as well. Like, what's your goals? What are you working towards? And then the coach is able to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
So to me, those are really cool pieces.
Yeah, it's added a new dynamic to like the coaching, like just working on your coaching, is that like each person, you kind of got to know, like, even if they came in as someone who just wants to move, there are days when you could tell they're looking for a little more intensity, and you got to work with them on that and be able to sense that and be like, okay, well, this is where you can add it in.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not super comfortable with this movement, but you are really comfortable with this one. So let's add it in on that one. And like, and it's a day-to-day thing, but it's also like, it helps you work on your craft a little bit of like knowing the person and where they want to go with that day, not just, overall.
Yeah. And I think it's really helped us to figure out, where does CrossFit movement fit in the bigger structure of what's your sleep like? How'd you eat today? What's your stress like? Because, being able to ask those questions allows us to just be such better coaches. And we've certainly learned that over the last year. And you see the ebbs and flows of everybody as you get to know them and build those relationships with them, which has been really cool. And so I think, when I think about 2023, it's amazing how fast it went by. Amazing how much support we feel like we've received, and the encouragement from folks within our community, folks outside of our community, which has been really cool. And it gets us really excited for what's in store for 2024, I think. And seeing where we can go and how we can continue to just stay consistent and see how that grows and how we impact people's lives.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Me too.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us, doing our 1 year recap here, thinking about where Greater Culture was a year ago compared to where we are now. Some things feel very similar, some very different. We're very, very excited for what 2024 has in store for us. And we look forward for you all to be part of that journey in some way, shape, or form. And so with that, for Chelsea and Brad, another Greater Culture chat. Look forward to seeing or interacting with you in the future.
Bye.